forest. I find it, and evidently the agency was not able to get it out until it burned a portion on the congressman's private land. I find it incredible that he would now turn around just a few years ago and try to bill the agency and the taxpayers for a $10,000 fire that the Forest Service tried to put out for. Just incredible. Be that as it may, the agency finally decided that they were going to go ahead, based on his refusal not to pay the bill, to move the case into litigation and set it up to do that. At about that same time, our assistant secretary was scheduled to testify before Congressman Brown's subcommittee after the fire initially occurred. Congressman Brown, who prior to that time I was unaware of any interest in National Forest Management, requested to get on the oversight committee of the Forest Service in the House. That would be the House Natural Resources Subcommittee. Because of his tenure, they honored that request, and he became a member of the subcommittee. Our Assistant Secretary of Agriculture, Mark Ray, was scheduled to testify before the subcommittee that the congressman sat on over Forest Service issues. And just before he was scheduled, he finds out that the government has set its final demand letter of $5,700 to Congressman Brown, and he actually had the letter intercepted at the post office, pulled it back, and cut a deal reducing the civil adjustment billing by $1,000, and the congressman went ahead and paid it. That's the second part of the story that just happened a few months ago. And again, the information on that is detailed on several websites that hold no political affiliation. And so the reason I'm bringing this up and the reason I'm mentioning it is this. If you look at the congressman's website, you'll see that he says, hey, the people that filed the report were just a bunch of disgruntled federal employees. Well, that could be anything furthest from the truth. The fact is, if I became disgruntled, it was only after the fact when I realized that he was not going to pay the violation notice because he had asked for special favors from the Forest Service that in fact granted those special favors. If anything, you could probably say disillusioned is how I felt at that point after 34 years of working and trying to do things the right way to see this happen. I felt disillusioned at best. But you know, you can't change things in government unless you stand up for what's right. Andy and I thought we were doing right by bringing this to the attention, and it was justice delayed, but justice served finally. The thing that I find incredible, though, is the blatant out and out irresponsibility on his part to demand special favors that he himself would never have granted for any of you if it happened to you in the first district. Nor am I aware of that he would have been likely to try to change with success the law that he was convicted under to a much higher standard of proof now than it existed at the time. He successfully changed that by getting the department to make a rule change. We now, thanks to the congressman, I still say we, but the Forest Service now will have a much harder time proving that escaped fires left the property of another and then burned the national forest. Much, much harder time. The rule was significantly weakened, and he's the one that did that. And so, I guess in closing, I just say that it's unfortunate we were faced with this. This was a time-consuming case that cost the taxpayers. I've seen costs of $100,000. Frankly, folks, I think that's low. There was 4 years of staff time. At the time I was still dealing with this, 24 people had been involved with it at a significant level. And over time, those funds add up. And I just feel if he had just paid the fine paid the suppression costs, everyone would have been a lot better off, but he didn't. And now for him to say that we were disgruntled and upset, and that's upset for some other reason that he doesn't mention, that's the only reason we turned him in, is patently false. And I feel I need to come over on my own time and correct that. As to Ms. Kettner, I've never met her. I know nothing about the campaign issues. The only reason I am really here is to share this story with her.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Republican. I support Henry Brown.
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask you just one simple question. Do you know the congressman? How can you make a conjecture that the congressman wouldn't do it for someone else? I mean, how do you